Hi. Do you ever wonder if some of your favorite artists, authors, or musicians have been Urantia Book readers? I've spent many years researching the book's broader cultural influence, and I'm amazed at what I've found. I'd never imagined I would discover so many famous musicians, artists, authors, actors, and leaders in all sorts of fields who have read the Urantia Book, and I continue to find more. I've researched and written about the lives of around 130 famous and influential people, and the intriguing stories of how the Urantia Book has been part of their lives and often influenced their work. It's striking how so many renowned individuals have been Urantia Book readers, while it remains unknown to most people and flies under the radar of academic scholars and the media. Around half of the individuals covered in the research are musicians. You may have already heard about how some of them have been Urantia readers, like Carlos Santana, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, and Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead. It's really impressive how many of the musicians who have been influenced by the Urantia Book are venerated as pioneers of many innovations and subgenres of jazz, rock, heavy metal, folk, pop, and country music, among other genres. Millions of devoted fans profoundly appreciate the work of these reader musicians, and I think many fans would say they've felt spiritually stimulated by their music. My research also covers many other areas beyond the book's influence on musicians and other famous people. Here's how it began in 2004 at Stockholm University.
I'm a high school teacher in Sweden. I teach history of religions, or comparative world religions, and English. And when I was at the university, studying at the history of religions department, I was going to write a bachelor's thesis and then also a master's thesis as part of my education. And my supervisor, he's like, I know you know a lot about Urantia. You really should write about Urantia. And I said, that's going to take forever. You know, I know too much about Urantia, so I'm never going to get it done. You know, I'm going to get too deep into it. And he said, oh, but that doesn't really matter because somebody needs to write about this. Nobody's really written about the Urantia Book and the Urantia movement more than just small, short articles in the academic genre. So something really needs to be written. So he basically wouldn't take no for an answer, so I started writing about it, and then I would write so much, and he just kept saying, oh, why don't you add this, why don't you add that, why don't you summarize the teachings? Summarize the teachings? What are you talking about? I already wrote 100 pages, you know? And then he kept saying, well, this will be a great manuscript. It's something that will be more than just a thesis paper.
Here are a few words from Peter Workebeck, who was my academic supervisor.
When you introduced me to Urantia, I knew it existed, but I wasn't sure anyone was really reading it. So I tried to find scholarly articles about Urantia, and it was almost nothing. No one has kind of, because I think just reading Urantia is something, and putting it in context, someone has to do that, because that's what I think is very important, that it should exist, something like that. And since you are educated, you know the scholarly process, you know how to write academia, that should really be, you should do it. You stand on two legs, and that's the important thing. If you would just read a Urantia reader, that would be maybe not so interesting for a lot of people. Like me, for instance, we want to have some more. Your master was really something extra. It was really fantastic.
Well, it was really interesting to find out that there were circles of musicians who were all reading the book, passing the book around. So yeah, the book is doing a lot of different things, and it's taking on a big task. And I think part of the reason you've taken on such a big task is because it's such unexplored territory. I mean, there's a large need to fill there. There's so little solid scholarly material that a scholar could cite. There's so little of that that's of any quality. It tends to be inaccurate and tends to betray a lack of real familiarity with the material. So I mean, you're writing it as someone who is a reader and has that ability to sort out, you know, what's accurate and what's not based on, you know, years of experience reading the book. But you also strike like a somewhat objective tone, you know, as a scholar would. Ideally, the book will be of use to readers and non-readers alike. And and you've lived it, so you have experience as well as academic study. But then there's the discovery of all these circles of amazing musicians. Yeah, I've been playing guitar since I was 13. I've been reading the Urantia Book since I was 14 or 15. So, and at a young age, the Urantia Book and music were some of the most important things in the world to me. So, it's great to find out that so many great musicians were responsive to the book.
It's because celebrity adds a certain amount of credibility, and because we all know celebrities, and maybe we think a lot of celebrities, and especially musicians, and I'm struck by how many of the people that you have found are musicians. And musicians are especially influential. And it's because music kind of goes into your heart. And you don't just hear the melody, you hear the words, the lyrics. And the lyrics can be profoundly moving. And when you say, you know, yeah, Carlos Santana is a reader, I think, wow, no wonder I love him so much. He's coming from a very deep place, you know? And it adds credibility. The Urantia Book is relevant. It's relevant enough for major lyricists and songwriters to have been so inspired by it that they put it into music. Even if we don't know that's what they did, that's what they did. And their music moved us. I think it's another way that they tilled the soil in preparation for us to plant the seeds of this great revelation.
Celestial artisans come from time to time from the headquarters of the system to proffer help to the naturally gifted individuals of the mortal races.
Hi, my name's Eric. I met Mike a couple of years ago here in Västerås, Sweden, and he told me about the Urantia Book. And he told me that he was writing a book about the Urantia Book and the people who've been inspired by it. He mentioned so many musicians that I've been listening to my entire life, and I had absolutely no idea that they were so inspired by this book. I realized that there was something very, very significant going on, and I was caught immediately. Those musicians whose work had influenced me so deeply and whose music have inspired me and given me faith in the darkest of times. I thought I knew everything about them. You know, after thousands of hours of watching documentaries, reading autobiographies and listening to interviews, how did I not know about this book? How did I not know that all the creators of the music I consider to be the greatest love in my life have all been inspired by the Urantia Book? I have been collecting spiritual books for as long as I can remember, and there's a big chance that the Urantia Book would have just been another book on the shelf if it weren't for this information. A lot of musicians and music lovers are spiritual seekers, and I think a lot of fans of all these musicians are going to be really amazed. I think there's a lot of people who are going to have the same reaction as I did. There's a lot of fans who are going to be grateful because they want to know what inspired these musicians. I know that the Urantia Book has helped these musicians on their spiritual path, very deeply so. Like Jaco Pastorius, for example. He made a song called Havona, which many people like myself would say is his greatest solo. Now, I learned that the name Havona is from the Urantia Book. I had no idea, but I've been listening to the song at least 100 times. For me, I'm so glad I'm discovering so much from reading the Urantia Book. I've also found a great community of like-minded people, and most importantly, I found God.
Forever, music will remain the universal language of men, angels, and spirits. Harmony is the speech of Havona.
Since completing my thesis, the manuscript has grown to over 600 pages, and it also has a 140-page source appendix. It's far along, but there's still a lot more work to be done. It's been slow going since I'm also teaching full-time and raising my 2 daughters. I was raised by Urantia Book readers, and I've always cherished the book's teachings and our worldwide community of readers, and done what I can to contribute. Supporting young readers has been a particular passion throughout my life. In recent years, many dear reader friends in my parents' generation have passed on. This has made me realize that my research needs to be published now. I know that many readers and seekers of the boomer generation and of all ages are going to appreciate and enjoy this extensive research. And I've come to realize that I won't be able to publish soon without help. That's why I'm asking you to support this project with a donation, which will help pay for assistance with editing, proofreading, formatting, and so forth. I'm also hoping to teach part-time for a period, so I can devote the needed time into this work, and your support could also help make that possible. If you have skills you'd be willing to contribute, that would also be hugely helpful and appreciated. I want to thank you for your time. I think it's important for readers to be aware of this project, which is part of why I made this video. And I'd be grateful if you'd share this video with reader friends who might be interested. I'm convinced this book will spark interest, raise awareness, and stimulate appreciation of the Urantia Book, and that it will be valuable to biographers, music historians and fans, Urantia Book readers, journalists, scholars, and spiritual seekers. Thank you.